back on the Boulevard Thursday, April 16th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight, TPG. This is the only time you're going to get to talk to me this week, so use it wisely.
Dude, how about just the St. Louis Battlehawks and the DC Defenders, the best rivalry in spring football? We get it again for the first time. For the first time since week one. I mean, what gets better than this?
You know what your problem is?
What is it?
You'll never admit how bad you wish you were one of us. Ask any DC fan who went to the championship last year. TPG was loving every second of it. He was loving every second he got to spend with our fans. He was taking selfies with our fans. He was collecting phone numbers. He's a fraud. He's not a real Battlehawks fan. Cut him. He bleeds red. If you cut him, he bleeds red. I guarantee it.
I think you might be onto something that the Battlehawks faithful has turned against me. Barely any chat TPG questions recently. Got no love at the game. No one even cared that I was there. Nick Hand, Cody Strickland, where are you? No invite to the tailgate. Yeah, I don't know. I think the city of St. Louis does hate me. But I am a company man, Matt. I supported you when your team was in the championship game. So when my team does the same this year, I expect that out of you.
TPG, I got a question for you. How old are you?
I am 26 years old.
How old were you when you watched your first St. Louis Battlehawks game?
I was 19, 20.
So about 6 years?
Yep.
How many playoff wins have you seen in that time? Why do you do this to yourself? I mean, honestly, you were already born into White Sox and Bears misery.
Oh, please!
You don't have to
talk about that. You cannot say anything about the Bears.
You don't have to continue to torture yourself with another team that can't win. It's not too late.
This team can win.
Come on over. You're still young.
We don't got Beckett anymore. We got a new coaching staff. We got some great coordinators. We got some great players. We got some great guys on defense. I mean,
it's never too late.
This is a championship team. And if that quarterback, if that's an indication of what he's going to do the rest of the season, I am so confident that this team will be playing at Audi Field for the championship game on June 13th.
I'm sick of you already. This is going to be a short episode. This is going to be a real short. And here's the deal.
No, this is bullshit. Because I open and I try to, give flowers to the rivalry and pump it up. And you just want to be super negative and attack me. Attack me.
Here's the deal.
Jesus.
Right? Because we got to put this to bed. We got a week to preview. So here's the deal. Since you made me read your little poem in week one, when DC wins Saturday, you got to come back on the show next week and call 1-800-GAMBLER live on the show. And I want you to tell 1-800-GAMBLER how much you lost on your Battlehawks and how much you've lost on your Battlehawks betting them over the years. We got a deal?
Oh, my gosh.
We got a deal.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely, we have a deal.
Shake on it.
And then we're going to, whoever wins, it's got to give the other person a little script on what to say. Maybe not an exact script, but just some bullet points.
I'd be happy to, just like you made me read that
about how you lost 4 figures on the Defenders this week.
All right, we got a deal. Let's move on.
Let's do it.
Loser calls 1-800-GAMBLER live next week. You're not going to want to miss that.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm dead serious too. I don't care.
I can't wait to go 2 for 2 on bets won this year. Oh, I cannot wait.
All right, here are our standings. Let's get into it. Week 4, Dallas and Orlando unbeaten at 3-0. St. Louis and DC are 2-1. Houston and Birmingham at 1-2. Louisville and Columbus still winless at 0-3. So, of course, we're going to get into a full preview of Week 4. Before we do, a special guest on the Boulevard tonight this week for you. Check it out. Joining us now, the only kicker on the planet with a 4-point field goal on his resume, and he's actually got 2 of them. Matt McCrane, thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely, man. Good to be on.
Man, where to start? You know what? How about a trivia question right off the rip? We'll start hot here. We'll put you on the spot. Saturday will be the 9th meeting all time between the Defenders and the Battlehawks. DC is up 5-3 in the all-time series. You've played in 7 out of the 8. Who's the only player to have played in all 8 meetings?
That's gonna have to be Ta'amu, I would think. Jordan.
That is Jordan Tamu. He is 1 for 1. All right, we're gonna go double or nothing here. Why not? We'll keep the momentum going. 7 games for you against the St. Louis Battlehawks. Have you made over or under 10 total field goals?
I would have to go with over. I think over.
He's 2 for 2, ladies and gentlemen. 11 field goals in 7 games.
Versus the Battlehawks, a lot of attempts. Yep.
Well, we're not going to count Week 10 last year because that was a nightmare. That game shouldn't have been played, but that didn't help the stats. But yeah, 11 made field goals in the last 7 meetings. And I got to ask, is there either a kick you made against St. Louis or really just a moment in general as we kind of highlight this rivalry that really stands out to you as like one of your favorite memories in the series?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I think that obviously with the Defenders and Battlehawks rivalry, I think even before I was on the Defenders, I was with the New York Guardians in 2020, and had a pretty big dagger field goal, 52-yard field goal during that game. That was early on in my career, and thought that was a pretty good shot. 2020 New York Guardians. But as far as the rivalry goes, I don't know. I've had a few that I think were some good memory makers. Obviously, you got to go with week 1, first drive out the gate, 60-yard 4-point field goal. I mean, pretty crazy opportunity to do that right out the gate, but man, we executed it.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of you scoring a bunch of points, obviously everybody's been asking you about these new 4-pointers. I wanted to kind of ask you about the PATs being back too. Ran some numbers before we brought you on. Coaches deciding to kick the PAT league-wide 83% of the time. Now, a lot of fans, they like the traditional PAT being back. It feels familiar to them. I'll play devil's advocate and say, hey, Orlando and Louisville go a combined, I think, 0 for 10 in overtime because maybe there's less reps of the 2-point plays going on now. So where do you stand with that? Maybe you're a little bit biased as a kicker, but...
Yeah, I mean, Shannon has always said from the beginning, and I think that's a little bit different from Barlow. And Barlow, later on in his tenure with DC, ended up taking the points early on, whether that be short field goals or long field goals. And so Shannon from the beginning, especially when offense is a little bit rough in the first few weeks, Shannon's like, we're taking the points, man. We're going for the extra point. We're going to kick the short field goals, whether it be on 4th and short. But I can tell you from a kicking standpoint, it's nice to be able to get in a routine. Just from snap, hold, kick, even from a blocking standpoint. Because when you stand cold the entire game and you have to go on and kick a 4th quarter kick, it's pretty difficult just kicking into a net on the sideline. So I'm all about the extra point. I love bringing it back. But I do think as you get later on in the season, I think teams are going to be able to, or at least want to take more risks on those 2 and 3 point extra points. But I think for now, teams want points on the board early, so they're going to kick the extra point.
Yeah, and lucky for you, DC scoring a lot of touchdowns, especially last week. Huge win.
Last week worked me pretty good. I think what we kicked off, maybe I don't even remember how many times, but it was 15 or 16 points. I had, but gosh, it was a slugfest, I guess, by our team last week. But man, we put up a lot of points.
Want to go back a week before that to the Columbus game? You actually flew down on kickoff and made a tackle, and you had guys trying to fight you after the play. Take us back to that. What happened there?
Oh man, we're flying down the field, and I just remember, especially in this league, because they can't go until the ball's caught, right? And so I had kind of taken liberty to fly down and fill a gap, and I saw the off returner come my direction, so I knew the return was coming right at me. And so I just kept running, and sure enough, got in on the tackle. But, you hear my teammates screaming behind me. Like, you can hear it on the TV, a copy there, like, look at Matt McCrane, look at Matt. And we were chirping a little bit at the returner. But, yeah, got in on, 2 tackles against Columbus or something. So it's been fun. I'm bruised and banged up, so I might stay out of the action for a couple of weeks. But it was fun doing it.
I was gonna say you could leave that to Eric Ezekanma, who absolutely laid the wood in the Columbus game. You probably had a good vantage point of that one, huh?
Oh, right behind it. I mean, guy flies down the ball. That's why we put him on that side and on kickoff, just because he runs so hard, and that was evident by that hit. I mean, gosh, hit round the league right there.
Yeah, that's definitely a candidate for hit of the year so far. Talking about a couple of these 4-pointers, back to week one and the first one, I'm pretty sure Jordan took a sack right before that, and that kind of knocked you back to 60. Did you thank him for doing that?
Well, I didn't realize when I run out, I guess to preface it, when I run out for a kick, I don't really try to look at the distance. I just, pick my target behind the uprights and hit it. And of course, it's hard to block out the announcer when they're saying 60-yard field goal. But I knew we were close, and, when Jordan took the sack, I was like, either this is going to be over 60 or it's going to be right at 60.
Yeah.
And, ran out and like I said, executed it earlier. But I just to get that opportunity right out the gate first drive. I mean, I think Rapoli. I saw Rapoli's video on Twitter, and I think he couldn't be more ecstatic to get it right out the gate.
I think you could probably hear him from the field. He might have been the loudest person in the stadium after that.
And then Shannon mentioned it, I think, in the post game. He was like, "I can guarantee you, Rapoli was screaming at the top of his lungs because what a great thing for the league. I mean, you saw it. You saw the viewership on social media. I mean, ESPN's post had like 2 million or something views. So to get that in week one of the UFL, I mean, put us right in the spotlight. So I'm thrilled it was me. I'm thankful that I had a big O line that could block and hold long enough. But what a spot! What a shot for me to get it.
Yeah, I'm glad Rapoli was up in the suite during that, because he probably would have ran on the field and gave you a hug if he would have been on the sideline. So yeah. Kind of more in general now, I had Blake Williams on back in week one and kind of asked him the same question. Wanted to get more of a player's perspective on this one. Are you guys feeling a void around the building not having a GM around this year? And is that more of just Vaughn personally and what he added? Or is it like just in general, the lack of having a GM kind of changes things?
Yeah, so the league does have general managers that are kind of, in charge of two teams. So when you talk about transactions or injury reports, but that adds a workload to some of our staff, right? Not having Vaughn there to handle some of those things. So Shannon is doing some ops and some other coaches are handling some things. But I think, not having Vaughn, I mean, I had the luxury of having Vaughn when I was in Oakland with the Raiders. And so I got to know Vaughn from a previous life. And had a lot of respect for him coming in and what he did. He texted me yesterday, actually, and just said, "Hey, man, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing." And so, yeah, we hated losing Vaughn as our general manager. I mean, kind of the glue that held us together. But it gave the opportunity for other guys to step up. And I think it's a testament to the league, doing what they can to make things work. But it's been great. I mean, Shannon stepped up and a lot of other guys have stepped up. So it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, we talked about you being here for 4 years now. Obviously, you've played in so many games against St. Louis and just so many spring football games in general. There's a lot of other guys on the team who have been here from day one as well. Obviously, our fans love you. In your opinion, what is the missing piece from taking Audi Field to the average, I think pulling in about 12 to 13,000 a week, to bumping that up to the next level, getting the 19, 20,000? Is it moving out of the hub and setting every team up in the cities, or is there something else from your opinion? I mean, you're a businessman. What is it that could maybe bump that up to the next level? Because the team is winning. The team is good.
Yeah, I think Rapoli's direction is aligned with with what he wants to do, and that's to put people in seats. I think it obviously takes time to get there. I mean, you look at what the NFL's become over its existence. It's going to take time. But yeah, having boots on the ground definitely helped. When we lived in market, when I was with New York in 2020, obviously that's when Audi was pretty packed. 2023, it was packed too. The lemons, I think, helped. So it's be a shout out to Rapoli to see if we get some lemons back at Audi Field because that really brought the energy. Night games at Audi Field, I don't think we have a night game this year. I think there were some conflicts. But when I look back at film or video of past games, I put one on my feed, on my Instagram feed, about the beer snake from 2023, because even without, let's say it's not even a packed stadium, let's say it's 12, 13,000 that we had like this last game, the fans at Audi are different than, let's say, St. Louis. St. Louis could be packed with 30,000 people, but when you come to Audi, you know it and you can hear it and you can feel the presence of the fans. It's different. It's unlike any other. I would love to get to a packed Audi. That'd be incredible to get back to 2023. But boots on the ground, talking to fans, recruiting them to come to games. And we do that. We do activations when we fly in on Fridays before the game. We'll go out to bars and restaurants. We were just at the Navy Yard, I think, if that's the right term. We were down there talking to fans. So we're trying to stay actively engaged without living in market. But yeah, word of mouth is what we need. We need people bringing their friends and family, bringing their coworkers, telling them what fun it is. Because we'll put the product on the field. I mean, obviously we're doing it. We're putting up points. Pick sixes probably are change the energy of Audi like nothing else. And so we're giving the product. We just, we need the word of mouth to spread.
Yeah, everybody on your side's doing their job. Now we need, kind of like the word of mouth and the grassroots marketing, and a viral moment or two definitely wouldn't hurt. I know Briley Moore did his best at that last week to try to get that.
Yeah, we're getting it. We're getting the social views, the interactions, the content. Man, the lemons would be sweet, wouldn't it? That was a core memory from 23 when we had the lemons at Audi. So I don't know if it's something they'll bring back, but I wish they'd consider it.
Yeah, one more kind of league general question before we get back to the task at hand this week. Oklahoma City announced as the 9th team. That'll be 2028. They're going to announce a 10th soon as well. What was your reaction to that news, kind of growing up in that area?
All about it. I mean, I'm from North Texas or North Central Texas, and now live in North Texas. And so I've been up that direction a few times, and I think it's a great market. I think you have to be pretty strategic on picking markets. Somebody mentioned to me, or mentioned, I think, on social media about like an EPL format where tiered teams drop off depending on, attendance or ticket sales or whatever. So it'd be interesting if that ever became a factor for the UFL. But I think we're building. I think they're picking the right strategic markets, and they're being, focused on and intentional on those markets. I think Rapoli's team is doing a great job, and so I'm pumped and thrilled. I wish it was next year, but I understand the logistics behind it.
Yeah, kind of crazy that they were able to pull off, Louisville, Columbus, and Orlando on a limited time. So things are moving pretty fast. Back into this week, you guys are fully into your preparation now for St. Louis. Want to touch on this Fred Keiss offense for a second. He's been there all 4 years as well, and it's kind of bounced back and forth between the ground and pound of 2023 with Abram Smith, aired it out a lot more in 24 and in the championship year in 25. Now kind of back to the fundamentals this year with the run game. What kind of makes this scheme, because it's the same OC, what makes his scheme able to adapt so easily to whatever's working and whatever's winning games?
Yeah, I mean, at running back, we've got the three-headed snake, right? I mean, we've got Valladay, we've got Abram Smith, and then obviously Dion, who's putting up numbers. And so, when you have a backfield like that, fairly new O-line. We did get a few guys back to come back from previous years, and obviously some guys that came out back from the NFL are back on our roster now. And so, but I think it's like anything, right? Give us a couple weeks, we'll start gelling again, and we're proving to do that. And I think Jordan too is trying to get comfortable in the pocket again, figure out, what receivers he needs to hit and start to put up numbers in the air too. Cause we know we've got the ground game. We just, need to start capitalizing on offense on all cylinders. And, it's funny after, we had, it was the fourth down, time was ticking down. The referee, the white hat, didn't pump the play clock. I wasn't very happy about that if you saw it on TV. And I ended up calling a timeout, and that's when Briley Moore had his little trick play, where Jordan tucked it under. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, like little wing tee style or something. And so I went to Coach Keiss after the game, and I was like, I set that up for you. I said, when's the last time a kicker has called timeout on field goal? I don't know that I've ever seen it happen, but I was not happy that the white hat didn't reset the play clock, but it ended up working out for us. We ended up getting 6 points out of it.
Yeah, phenomenal time to run that play. Obviously, we have to touch on the defense as well. Things kind of unraveled a little bit there at the end of the St. Louis game, week one. Obviously, we know there's some big personalities in that room, and I understand a lot of frustration there. But since then, they've done a great job bouncing back. Now you got a quarterback for St. Louis coming in, making his first start in the UFL, and he's got to do it at Audi Field against the best defense in the league. What do you expect from our defense?
I can tell you when I look across the defensive locker room and I look across some of these guys, obviously Derek Roberson put on a heck of a performance last week. Is when I look across those guys, I would not want to be an opposing quarterback. I'll tell you that. Just because you're going to get hit all game long, and what Blake and them are scheming up, it's fun to watch. I mean, games that as a kicker maybe I wouldn't be as in tune to, and watching how the defense performs. It's like what are we going to do next? What blitz are we going to run? Are we going to get a pick six? Now with the extra point, I stay loose when we're on defense because I know we're probably going to get the ball pretty quick. It's a testament to our guys and the work that they put in each week. But there's some scary dudes, man. I mean, they're wearing those blacked out visors similar to 2023. I wish they could do that in the game. But watching those guys fly downhill and hit hard, play after play after play, I would not want to be an opposing quarterback. That's for sure.
Well, Matt, you're a man of the people. We know that. You put on a show and warm-ups for the crowd. Every week you're at Audi. Big Saturday in the district. We've got the Defenders at 12:30. We got the Nationals at 4. Give the sports fans in the DMV one last pitch for why they should get their ass to Audi Field on Saturday.
I mean, it sounds like a heck of a pregame party, right? I mean, if you're going to come and you're going to come watch the Defenders and then head next door, that again, if we can get people to show up to the games, we can get them in in the standing room section, start contributing to the Beer Snake pregame a little bit, maybe for the Nationals game later on. It is a fun, like, ground and pound offense. We're putting points on the board. Defense is putting points on the board. Special teams is performing across all fronts: coverages, returns, punt. Paxton Brooks had a 62-yard punt last week. Should have been probably special teams player of the week, in my opinion, when you put that number on the board. So we're giving the people what they want, right? And you mentioned it in pregame. I like to have fun, when the wind's with me. I did it in Columbus. I think we backed up to like 75 or something in Columbus pregame, and I missed 3 kicks, something, one short, one right, and they were booing me. They were booing me pretty hard. But I'm like, it's fun. I want to stretch out the range and see where I can hit from in pregame. But I know every time we come back to Audi, we talked about it today in team meeting, how thrilled we are to get back and help feed the Beer Snake.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've been to Walters before. They're opening the doors at 9 o'clock this Saturday, brunch at 10. I'm just saying, you could make a whole day out of this down at the Navy Yard. If you're a sports fan of the DMV, the Caps are done now. They will not be in the playoffs. So time to go right into the UFL, and you can even do 2-for-1. You can get to the Nats game in plenty of time. Hey, Matt, my St. Louis fan co-host could not be here. I think he was a little intimidated to do the interview, but I told him when DC wins on Saturday, he's got to fly to Texas and eat at your restaurant. So I'm getting you some customers.
Let's do it, man. Hey, we'll do a little live feed in there and get his opinion on some Fuzzy's Taco Shop. But yeah, speaking on that, it's been an awesome thing to see not only the league but Fuzzy's Taco Shop corporate work with me as a player. I mean, to be able to work a partnership deal. I'm feeding Dallas and Houston each week. Obviously, we're promoting in those markets as well. But they're also ordering from my store in Grapevine to feed those teams. So I couldn't be more happy to work with Rapoli and his team. I mean, he's mentioned Fuzzy's. I don't know how many times he comes in the building. He's like, Matt, Fuzzy's Tacos. And I'm like, Mike Rapoli, a billionaire who has 1,000 or, hundreds of thousands of things to worry about on his mind. And he remembers me and remembers, Fuzzy's Taco Shop. So that's really cool to see. But Jason, in partnerships with the UFL, Jennifer Shaw and the Fuzzy's Taco Shop marketing team all getting together in mesh. You're seeing it on our social platforms. Pretty cool that they support a player.
Yeah, definitely need the partners, and more keep rolling in as the season goes on. as people start to believe in Mike Rapoli's vision and believe in the UFL. On the media side of it, we've got Barstool doing stuff now. John Gruden is all over the league. Like it's really cool to see Rapoli's relationships and his connections come alive. And I think people are probably getting sick of him.
I'm sporting my Barstool. I got my Gruden's QB class, hat on. It was a cool connection with him. I was with the Raiders on his first year back. I remember sitting in the locker room with him after that game when I had a game winner against Cleveland. Baker Mayfield's first start with the Browns, and had the game winner in overtime. And I remember John Gruden coming up to me in the locker room. Obviously, he gave game balls to everybody. You can, find that video. But he came up to me after, and he put his arm around me. He's like, Matt, you're going to be my kicker for a long time, man. You're going to be a kicker for my long time. And I was like, this is cool, man. John Gruden, the legend, is telling me I'm going to be his kicker for a long time. Needless to say, he cut me 5 weeks later or 4 weeks later. So that's how cutthroat the National Football League is. But what a cool experience for me. I've got a notebook of things he would say when I was with the Raiders that I kept, different notes he would pass out to players. And, the knock on wood if you're with me, if you've seen the Hard Knocks episodes and behind the scenes, is just like that, exactly like that. So cool that they're hopping on, right? They're Barstool's hopping on with him. So I don't know, maybe him and I can get together and talk some Oakland Raider football.
I would love to get with him as well. He just followed our Instagram the other day. It's like, it's awesome what's going on right now. I think you have a lot of content creators that are kind of playing catch up with the UFL because, maybe in years past they didn't watch it as much, but now it's like, hey, it's the real deal now. These are our partnerships that are real. And maybe instead of Gruden's QB class, we can put Gruden's kicker class, little K class, and work with him and his team a little bit. There we go, full of ideas. That is Matt McCrane. Matt in action Saturday 12:30 against the Battlehawks. Appreciate you being here. Love having you on the show, and good luck Saturday. We'll catch up with you then.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you then.
TPG ducking McCrane yet again, baby. Everybody's in your head. We're all in your head, even the kicker.
I mean, yeah, I did talk a little shit about him last year, so I didn't know what he was gonna think when I popped up in the call. So and I'm like, I'm gonna let Matt talk to his guys. He only wants to have He only wants to have defenders on this show. He doesn't want to get any other teams. I see how it is. He doesn't want to pull any St. Louis guys.
You're the one, talking about how much you DM AJ Smith and Brandon Silvers. Why don't you pull your weight here on the show? Maybe book some guests every now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bother him. I would text him every now and then. A little meme of you wearing a Battlehawks shirt.
I don't think Brandon Silvers is all that busy this week.
Jesus, no comment.
No question about it. It's our game of the week. Defenders and Battlehawks, the superior spring football rivalry. DC a 4.5 point home favorite with the total at 43.5. Forecast for Saturday, it's going to be hot. 80 degrees and sunny. Defenders lead this all-time series 5-3. That dates back to XFL 2020. And as I talked about with Matt McCrane, he nailed the trivia question. Jordan Ta'amu, the only guy to play in all 8 meetings, which is wild. Both teams coming off a win here, TPG. We could both agree week 1, not the ideal time for the rivalry. But when you get week 4 with 2-1 versus 2-1, this is as good as it gets.
Absolutely. And the fact that you said it's going to be 80 degrees sunny, that just fires me up even more for this atmosphere we're going to see Saturday afternoon. Well, I want to get into this. The big question around this game is how will the DC offensive line hold up from giving 7 sacks in week 1? And I don't think they're going to get embarrassed like that again. Truthfully, I do not. But will they be able to establish the run? This is not the Houston Gamblers defense. This is not the Columbus Aviators defense. This is a championship level defense with some serious playmakers. And if they're not able to establish this run, I would give the St. Louis pass defense the advantage in this game. I've been personally underwhelmed by Ta'amu all season. You tweeted this last week, but he threw 4 interceptions so far in the season through 3 weeks. He had 4 all of last season. And St. Louis has a defensive interception in each one of their games so far.
Yeah, let's get a little more into JT because I think it's probably one of the more unpredictable aspects of this matchup. Another week and another game where he didn't really have to set the world on fire and throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns because they got up early. And yeah, you mentioned he did throw that interception in the end zone. It's a little concerning that he's got 4 of those already. Is this finally the week where we see the Jordan Ta'amu that we all know and love? I mean, you remember, TPG, the question I asked you after week 1. Did Jordan get sacked 7 times because the offensive line was not ready to play? Or is the Battlehawks pass rush really that good? I think the answer to that question is pretty clear now. DC's offensive line was not ready to play. And I know you pump up the pass rush, but St. Louis only has 1 sack the last 2 weeks. That pass rush is not getting home, which shocks me a little bit, and I'm sure it shocks you too. I don't know. I really thought that the Battlehawks would be a team that would be difficult to throw the ball on. And you mentioned they generate their fair share of interceptions and big takeaways, but they also got torched by Tyler Vaughns and Deion Kane for 100+ in back-to-back weeks. Ty Scott's next, because this JT stat line is not looking ideal. It bothers me. He's got the worst touchdown to interception ratio in the league right now. And regardless of playing in blowouts the last 2 weeks where he didn't need to throw it, I still would like to see an explosive pass play or two mixed in to set the tone. I think Saturday is finally the day they do that.
I don't think DC can be one-dimensional in this game and win. So Jordan is going to have a big game if they even want to be in it. But enough talking about your guy. I want to go to our new guy, Harrison Frost. And I was super impressed about how he was able to battle adversity on Sunday. First 2 throws of the game when he got in were interceptions. One of them goes for a pick 6. I'm sitting in the opposite end zone with my hands over my face. They play Sweet Caroline. I'm all pissed off, right? It's like, oh yeah, Battlehawks get blown out, but we could sing Sweet Caroline, whatever. But he proved the doubters wrong and was able to put up 21 points in the 4th quarter, which is super impressive. I can't remember seeing a quarterback, make so many big plays in such a short amount of time in the UFL. And this is the type of mentality he needs, able to shake off that adversity, because we know Blake Williams, he's going to throw the kitchen sink at him. He's going to throw everything he has because he's going up against an inexperienced quarterback.
Come get some, bitch. Come get some.
Fair. Come get some. But for the Battlehawks to have success in this passing game, the turnovers cannot happen again. We got those 2 interceptions out of his system. He's going to throw none this week. But what also really helps is that Hakeem the Dream Butler officially broke out last week, and he loves nothing more than beating Blake Williams cover 0 over the top.
Yeah, I know Harrison Frost against the DC defense is probably going to be the biggest storyline heading into this game, right? Because it's intriguing to have a guy making his first UFL start in such a big rivalry. But you kind of covered it already, so I'm going to turn to a different part of the matchup that has potential to be even more interesting. And that's DC's explosive run game against the Battlehawks' stout run defense. St. Louis only giving up 75 a game on the ground. 3.3 yards a carry, that's solid. Then you have DC coming in with Deion Jackson, Abram Smith, and the boys up front. 155 a game at 5.5 a carry. This, to me, is where the game's going to be won or lost. Like, I can put my pride aside for a second as a DC fan, and I can admit the Battlehawks, they've been tested these last 2 weeks at a much higher level than the Defenders. However, DC in those last 2 weeks, even if you want to say it wasn't against good opponents, they didn't play with their food. They didn't let bad teams hang around. They beat the brakes off both of them. They took care of business. There's also a lot to be said about how St. Louis found a way to win both of those games that they won. Week 1, won it with the defense. Week 3, defense struggled second half, came back, won it with the offense. Now, both have to improve in week 4 for St. Louis to have any shot. And I personally think this is a terrible spot for a kid making his first UFL start. I mean, this Blake Williams defense is going to harass him with pressure after pressure. They're going to hit him with disguised coverages. And we both know, TBG, St. Louis has no run game. I've been telling you that since the preseason. You thought this was going to be copy and paste Anthony Becht. It's not. So there's a ton of pressure on Harrison Frost here. And we saw how things went for that other quarterback who was making his first UFL start on the road in D.C. last week.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say about Harrison Frost comparative to Tagliavoa is that he's got the reps. He's not. Tagliavoa came in QB3 for the season, signed late in training camp. Frost has been there the entire training camp. He's been taking the QB2 reps. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. He has the reps. He has the preparation. Now it's time to execute in this game. Matt, but I want to point out this. There's a interesting stat I found. St. Louis, the least penalized team in the UFL, 13 penalties for 98 yards. And then you have across the field, you got the DC Defenders, the most penalized team in the league, 24 penalties for 146 yards. What's going on? Why can't Blake not get these guys in check? What's wrong with Harris? Why is this team so penalized? Because they shoot themselves in the foot and they make dumb decisions, and they're probably going to do the same this Saturday.
Yeah, it must be nice when you got league management on your side, you silver spoon son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, because the championship game's not going to be at Audi. Sure.
We don't know that yet.
Sure.
We don't know that yet.
Chris Redmond told us.
Here's where I'm at from a betting perspective of this game. Of course, I'm probably not the right person to go to for betting advice about this game.
Neither of us are.
Maybe I'm not the best person to go to for betting advice at all for how my season has started. I'll own that, especially this game because my heart is in it. With that said, I think this is a tight game. I think DC wins by a field goal at most. And if we know anything about the Battlehawks, this offense slowly gets better as the game goes on because A.J. Smith is surgical with his in-game adjustments. He's on the tablet constantly. He sees the field. He knows exactly what to do as the defense throws things at him. It's sort of been the opposite for the Defenders. They've been able to start ultra fast and build a lead and then kind of coast home in the second half. So don't be shocked here when you look up at halftime and DC's up 2 scores, only to be thrust into a tight game where they need to make a play on defense to win at the end. Like, we know that, right? St. Louis has very much been a second-half team this year. Now, both sides have their advantages. We talked about a lot of them. For DC, it's the pressure they'll be able to generate on Frost. It's going to lead to turnovers. TPG thinks he's not going to throw an interception. He's out of his mind. DC is guaranteed a pick 6 coming back into the beer snake. That's an every-week occurrence. But you got advantages, too, on your side, and it's your ability, I think, to slow down Deion Jackson and force Jordan into 3rd and longs where you feasted on him week 1. If you can make that happen again, might have a shot. I love the over 43.5 here. I mean, can we both agree on that? We could see like a 26-23 or, hell, even a 24-21 type of game will get you there.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree on that over.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see it was the lowest total of the week. I mean, these are good coordinators, right? So, good offensive coordinators. The crowd is so important here. The crowd is going to be so important. Like, Harrison Frost was there. He was Ben DiNucci's backup in Seattle when the Sea Dragons came in for the playoffs, and they sold that bitch out with 18,000, and it was the loudest Audi Field's ever been. I can guarantee you Harrison Frost remembers that from the sideline that day, and I need all my Audi Field faithful to be full throat for 4 quarters until Frost lives up to his name and goes completely ice cold. Shields up! 3 straight for the DC Defenders.
Well, the gentleman just next to me said it. It's going to be a field goal game. So to no one's surprise, I will be taking St. Louis plus the points and the money line. Bitch, I'm a Battlehawk, baby. Let's go.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Let's go. Matt's losing 2 bets this year. Reading poems, calling 1-800-GAMBLER, going to get put on a list, a do not bet list for UFL. Then the show's going to be over. I mean, dude, you're doing this to yourself. Self-sabotage.
I cannot wait for Saturday. 1 win in week 1, and you guys throw an absolute parade and act like you have the advantage again in this rivalry. It's cute.
Hey, but I do want to say this. I told you this before the show started, but this is not going to be the last time these 2 teams face off this year. Whether it's a first-round playoff game or the championship game, these two teams will play each other for a third time this season. And if the league's as rigged as you say it is, it will happen.
All right. Next up. Kicking off pretty much right after the show tonight. We got Houston hosting Louisville. Kings are a 2.5-point road favorite here. Total 45.5. Forecast in H-Town tonight looks like 80 and a little windy, gusting up to 20. Both teams here coming off losses, TPG, and the Kings probably 2 plays away from being 2-1. Just 2 absolute collapses from them in both their home games.
Yeah. What more could Louisville have done last week to win? Like, they passed for 375 yards. They had 6.7 yards per play, 438 total yards, right? They had it on. If you look at the stat sheet, you would think they won. Not the case at all. And I'm still not confident in this team because of Chris Redmond. That whole Super Challenge thing last week was a complete debacle, and you're absolutely right. This team should be 2-1 if this guy could grow a set of balls. So Matt, what do you think of Redmond, and do you think that maybe Steve Logan would be a better fit to lead this team?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're seeing it across the league, right, that the rookie head coaches are struggling right now, which we should have seen that coming. I didn't see it coming with McCarron the way I have, but I think he's had a little bit of problems as well. So that's been the trend. Really, I look at the it's sort of an underrated quarterback matchup here, right? Jason Bean against Nolan Henderson. Did Chris Redmond finally realize how dumb that was in week 2 that he rotated his quarterbacks and he goes back to Bean full time? Look what happens. Like, it paid off in dividends. You said it. With all the numbers from the Kings, 352 and 3 touchdowns with no picks. Maybe that had less to do with the quarterback rotation and more to do with the return of Isaiah Winstead. I mean, just for perspective here, with Winstead in, this offense is throwing for 290 a game, and without him in week 2, they only managed 190. So I'd say 100 yards, pretty big difference maker there. The Kings will be without Tariq Black and Caden Prather. Would normally say that's a huge loss, but the tight ends here, your boy Zach Davidson and Trey McKitty, played really well last week. I think Bean has plenty of options when you throw in Lucky Jackson, Isaiah Winstead, and the tight ends. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, when we talk about Houston's quarterback situation, and don't you dare, TPG, ask Kevin Sumlin about it. Don't even think about asking him about it. But we do expect Nolan Henderson to start tonight, right? I mean, he logged a full practice yesterday. He's a full go. And with him in there, I expect this offense to look a lot more like they did against Birmingham, where he had his dislocated finger, than they did last week against DC. I was going to kind of set you up here. You talked highly of this Kings secondary coming into the year. They're bad, and they lost the game for them last week with 2 DPIs in overtime.
And you know it's bad when I believe it's like 2 of their guys in their secondary are like in the top leaders for tackles. Like, if your DBs are, they're leading your team in tackles, that's not very good.
It's Showboats 2.0, brother.
Trust me,
Showboats
I've been there before, and it's not good. But I do want to ask you, because you mentioned that they played a lot better last week. Do you think that's just the Kings playing at home and having that energy of the home fans? Do you think like maybe that plays a factor as to why they show up maybe more at the Fan than they do on the road?
I'll give them a point or two advantage being at home. But no, I think it's a lot to do with they saw what Orlando was giving them week 2, and they went in and had a great game plan. And they actually scored touchdowns. Like that touchdown drought, they had 15 drives without a touchdown. That was ridiculous. Yeah, but once they broke it, the floodgates were open. But it's just the defense that's the problem here. Like, the secondary's been awful. I mean, think of all the busted coverages. You had both KJ Hamler touchdowns, one in week 2, one in week 3. Nobody covered them. You had Elijah Badger on a touchdown down the sideline week 2, busted coverage. And I mentioned the pass interference. Like, it's just, I mean, they made Jack Plummer look like an NFL quarterback out there. And now,
he might.
Yeah. And now you got Justin Hall to cover. Good luck covering him. He's going to get his 10 targets a game. I don't know. I think we see this a little differently. I expect some fireworks from both offenses here. I think you got two defenses that are prone to getting gashed by big pass plays. It's just what they've done. I mean, Houston giving up over 100 points total this year.
Well, for me on a short week like this and not a lot of time to prepare, I'm not going to really take into consideration much of the actual players, more so the coaching, right? And I trust Kevin Sumlin more to make the adjustments, to have the better game plan, and to actually execute when it matters, right? And we know the Gamblers respond well after a loss. Similar loss last week as the week one. Now they come back home just like they did against Birmingham. And even Sumlin, he said on an interview that he was excited about this short week to bury that tape from the week before and move on and have another opportunity to go out there and compete. So, Matt, I've said this many times and I'll say it again, but no team is as bad as you think they are. And I love the home dog in this one. I like Houston plus the points. I like Houston on the money line. And also home teams this year in the UFL, mind you, are 10-2.
You can't use that.
ATS. 10-2 ATS.
You can't use that when you're betting against an 0-3 team.
Well, you just said, what do you mean?
Yeah, they're the underdog, but if you were deploying that strategy, you'd be betting on
But everyone's power rankings, even the league's official power rankings, have what? Houston at 8. So and the books have even shown you that Louisville will still be favored at playing in Houston. That should tell you everything. Who they view from top to bottom.
It's tough. It's a toss-up. I mean, for as suspect as Louisville's secondary has been, their front seven has actually been good. They lead the league in TFLs. And in those past two games they played against Orlando, the Storm could not run the ball against them. And granted, like looking across the league outside of DC, there really nobody has been able to run the ball. Like it's kind of concerning. I guess the Gamblers popped off that 1 week against Birmingham, but
Aviators kind of.
Even them, like it's been a pass first type of league. So I'd probably go as far as to say Houston is behind DC as the second best ground game in the league. I don't think you can fault them for low rushing numbers in blowouts, when they're not getting a chance to establish a run. So what can Jalen White do here? What can Marcus Yarns do here? And on the other side, what can we expect from Benny Snell? Because now Ian Wheeler and Jaden Sheridan, his two backups, both out, and they had to re-sign James Robinson, who they cut in camp. So I don't know. Benny Snell is something that you want to watch to pop off this week. The Kings threw it 46 times last week, TPG. I don't think the run game is going to be much of a factor here at all.
Well, I will give you the fact that this Gamblers defense is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
But we don't even know, we don't know that the Kings will even go with Bean. Like, this is not, my mind,
absolutely.
this is not, okay, he played such a great game week 1, and then they decide to pull him third series against Orlando in week 2. So what makes you confident that Bean's going to play this entire game?
Because I think he'll start hot. I think they did it in week 2 because he didn't start good. And that's credit to Orlando. He's gonna have a hot start. You're gonna be surprised. I mean, it's a good quarterback, and yeah, it's a tough game to pick straight up because Nolan Henderson has some juice too. I have Louisville power rated higher. I'm gonna trust the numbers and go with the Kings. Really no interest in the spread here. I am gonna be on the over 45.5. Both these defenses are gonna get gashed by explosive plays. Like, think about the talent at wide receiver in this game, TPG. You got Lucky Jackson, Isaiah Winstead on one side, Justin Hall, John Trey Kirkland on the other. Like, this is, I say it every year, but this is that ugly game, right? You get two bottom 3 teams, and it's also, like, it always is a recipe for a shootout. Because
I'm going to go finish.
Well, you have that kind of sense of urgency to score because you gotta win. It's just sometimes these bad games with bad teams pop off. I could see Jason Bean having another big night and the Kings drop 30. Nobody gives up more touchdowns than the Gamblers. Think about common opponents for 1 second. Okay, Louisville and Houston both had who? Birmingham, right?
Uh-huh.
Houston had them at home. Gamblers find a way to win. Kings had them at home. They did not. So if you use that as a measuring stick, maybe you'd be convinced. Maybe TPG has you sold on Houston plus 2.5. But I think the Kings are the better football team, honestly.
I'm going to go the opposite of you. I think this game screams under. This is going to be a 12-9 final.
What do you?
Especially with the short week. They're coming off a short week. They only have like 2 days of practice. They only have 2 days of practice.
And
like,
how does you think that helps defenses?
I think that naturally puts the defenses at an advantage. Yes, because the offenses haven't had enough time during the week to work out what they're going to do.
I don't know. I think these defenses are piss poor. So
they are piss poor, but I think this is going to be an ugly game. I will take the under in this. Not going to give it out as a best bet, but I will take the under in this. But be wary because Matt sold best bet last week. Unders later in the season would not advise, but if you're a sicko like me, want to get down on some weeknight UFL action, take the gamblers both ways and the under.
I do respect TPG's strategy, which has just become fade fresh.
It's not even.
No,
it's not even.
You would be winning money if you did not watch a single second of UFL and just tuned into our show to watch the 1 minute where we put the graphic on the screen with the best bets and you simply bet against me. You would be making money. So I can't blame you.
That's not true.
We're going to bounce
even
back.
when you give DC as a best bet, I usually tail. Because when you tell me to bet DC, you have your pulse. You have your finger on the pulse of that team, just like I have my finger on the pulse of the Houston Gamblers.
Well, let's hope Nolan Henderson's finger is okay because he's.
Yes, we do.
He's gonna have to sling it tonight. All right, up next, Dallas, Columbus. Yep, those Columbus Aviators who fumbled their first play in franchise history. This game is the second of a back-to-back between these two. Renegades 5.5-point road favorites here. Total 47.5. Forecast for Friday night 75 and clear. I don't know, TPG. I got a weird feeling about this one. We didn't really have any upsets in week 3. I mean, I guess you could call the Battlehawks over Birmingham, maybe, but not really, right? Like here in week 4, is Dallas on upset alert?
I kind of want to touch base on this whole Ted Ginn situation first because when we did talk about it on Sunday, I was a little inebriated, but you got these moral polices on the internet who are like chronically online saying that this guy should lose his job because of what he did. And these people, are 35 years old, balding, live with roommates, got no bitches, has no motion, broke, podcasting from their underwear. Who knows? Like, these people are completely wrong that he should lose his job. Me, on the other hand, I understand that we're all human and we all make mistakes. But the fact that there seems to be a lack of accountability around this entire situation, what kind of message is that sending to the team? Because in my eyes, this is the type of situation that not handled properly can really crumble a locker room.
Yeah, I know some of our listeners are going to be upset about that, and they have every right to be. Drunk driving is a serious thing. We are not here to minimize it.
It is. It is.
But maybe a DUI is exactly what Ted Ginn needed to get his shit back together and get this team back on track. I mean, because at the end of the day, in Columbus, when a former Ohio State football star catches a charge, that's just Tuesday. Like, you got to get in a high-speed chase or, like, rob a church for Ohio State fans to care that you got a charge. They're still going to show up on Friday, regardless. Trust me, nobody in the state of Ohio cares from some of the other things that have gone on with former Ohio State football stars. I'll just leave that one go.
Well, I feel like, maybe Todd Haley might be better off leading this team than Ted Ginn in the future. He looked much more competent as a head coach on Sunday, and Columbus is coming off their best defensive game in the year. But unfortunately, I kind of think this one game coaching bump is over for them because, Ginn is going to be back in the saddle. And bad news for Columbus, but if you haven't heard, Dallas might have found a run game, especially last week. Day Hunter 6.2 yards per carry on the season.
Well, Todd Haley didn't call plays last week, which was interesting. So they had their best offensive output when he wasn't calling plays. You might have a point there. I wasn't impressed with the Dallas Renegades last week. I know everyone's going to push back with, oh, it's week 3, a win's a win, coming off only 4 days of rest. That's fine. But this defense shit the bed in the second half, and the offense was nowhere to be found in the first half. Like, they were so fortunate and so lucky to have Sean Wade make that heads-up play there before half when he did the little relay-style baton handoff to Harris for the pick 6, because otherwise they would have lost that game. And Jalen McClendon even said it in the post-game presser, if I don't throw that pick, we probably win the game. I mean, Dallas blew an 18-point lead heading into the 4th. All of a sudden, Columbus is down 5, and they have a chance at the 4th and 12. Like, I guess when you're evaluating Dallas, you could give the offense a little more leeway because it was windy, it was rainy, guys were slipping. This is a spread offense. They want to throw it 50 times. Yes, the defense played well in the first half. They had the 2 picks, but there is no excuse, TPG, for playing with your food the way Dallas did. Look what DC did to Columbus. Compare that to the Dallas game and then tell me who the best team in this league is. And the Aviators didn't have a head coach when they played Dallas. They had one against DC, and they were at home.
Yeah, but the head coach sucks, and the interim is better. That's the point I'm trying to get at.
You hate Todd Haley, too. You were very critical of Todd Haley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but who would you rather, if I was, if I had the situation, whether it's, hey, who do you want to be the next coach of the Battlehawks? Do you want it to be Ted Ginn or Todd Haley? I'm choosing Todd Haley 10 times out of 10.
I'm choosing Ted Ginn so Todd Haley can do his job, right? Like, we saw how hard it is for guys who are offensive coordinators to also be head coaches. Skip Holtz had it down to a pat, but it can be difficult. Like, not everybody can do it the way Skip does it.
Yeah, but Haley's a guy that's done it multiple times.
Has he called plays and done head coach when he was in the NFL?
No, I'm saying he's I don't know. Like, he's
been a head coach.
Far back. But yeah, he's been a head coach in spring football. He's been a head coach in the NFL. The guy knows how to coach. The guy knows how to manage games. I think better than what Ted Ginn has shown us so far.
Well, kind of to the betting angle on this one. This is another back-to-back spot, right? We had a good example of these back-to-backs in Louisville-Orlando series, and it really went right exactly how we expected. The loser of Game 1 bounced back, played a hell of a lot better in Game 2. Now, granted, the Kings didn't win, but they played way better, than they did the first time around. So will the same formula apply here? I think it could. And in no means are the Aviators a better football team. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, I probably think they're the worst team in the league. I think they'll finish 3-7 at best. But you got to win 3 games, right? Somewhere. Here's a shot for one of those 3. You got the motivational spot working in your favor. I'm glad that you touched on, the narrative around Ted Ginn in the media and in the UFL fan base versus what it is in the building. I can guarantee you those are 50 guys who want to get the win for the head coach, that they've seen people talking shit on Twitter and people burying him and questioning his character. Like, the players get it, right? They want to win for him after what he's been through. So you got the bounce back from last week's loss. You moved the ball really well in the second half. There's some things that you can take momentum from. And you're back home in front of the fans. Like, Dallas has all that working against them this week.
I view last week's game as more of a win for Columbus than Dallas.
They did cover.
Even though, for that sole reason that they covered. So I think this is an absolute get-right spot for Dallas. And they will find the way to get TV Tyler Vaughn's the ball more. Only 5 receptions last week for 41 yards on 6 targets. And that's 10 less targets that he's had the week prior against St. Louis. He had 16. It was insane. So I think this defense can also play well enough to win. They held Columbus worst rushing game of the season last year, only 74 rushing yards when they've been popping off for 100 plus. So this also kind of goes against one of the stats that I've given. This is not a best bet, but I will be taking Dallas with the points. But I don't really have a bet for the total. And the one thing that might scare me off, I'm still going to take it, but the one thing I'm nervous about is Donald Payne was on an interview this week, and he said that this is their 3rd game in 10 days. So Yeah, this team is playing off minimal rest, but I do think they're going to go in to Columbus similar to how DC did in week 2 and just pummel them for 4 quarters, because last week was an atrocious showing from this team.
I don't know. I do expect Columbus to be able to move the ball here a little bit. You just got to avoid dumb turnovers, and you do the same thing you did second half last week, which was you run ball control. You need long, methodical drives. You need to take up a ton of clock. You need to keep Austin Reed off the field. And one thing worth noting here that maybe kind of plays into your favor, TPG, not a single player on the Dallas injury report this week. I don't know how accurate that is, but Columbus has like six starters that are limited in practice. I know James Baker's going to be in the comments. I still would not be super confident in this spot as a Dallas fan. There's a reason this line is only 5.5. Remember, we have 3-0 versus 0-3 here. Like, this should realistically be 9.5 or 10. The books are smelling a rat. I'm not saying the Renegades peaked in week 2, but it was ugly last week. The Aviators found some weaknesses, and I'm picking the upset. The Columbus Aviators bouncing back for Ted Ginn and getting a win for the home fans. Storm the field if you have to.
I don't think this line stinks at all. Renegades won by 5 last week. The spread's at 4.5. It's exactly where it should be. And it was a lot bigger last week. So the Aviators covered. This spread is exactly where it's supposed to be.
Not for a 3-0 versus 0-3. That there's got to be a bigger gap when it comes to
They
that.
must watch the show then and heard my stat. The stat that road favorites of 3.5 points or more are 0-4 ATS.
Well, we will not get a road favorite in our next game. Last but not least, we got a doozy Saturday afternoon. We got Gucci Mane. We got Ben Mintz. We got Skip Holtz back to present the game ball.
Will Pooh Shiesty be there? Do you know? Is he off house arrest or is he locked up in the county jail?
So what was the story? He kidnapped Gucci Mane? Is that what happened?
It was like he had a deal with Gucci. Pooh Shiesty had a deal with Gucci Mane's record label, and Pooh Shiesty was like mad about it, so he pulled up to the studio that Gucci Mane was at and like held up a bunch of him and his boys at gunpoint, and then ended up like kidnapping Gucci Mane, beating the shit out of him, and that's really all I know. So it was some bad shit that went down.
Should be a great show then. I mean, can you imagine a photo? Gucci Mane, Ben Mintz, Skip Holtz. God, I love this league. It's the Storm and the Stallions. Birmingham 2.5 point favorite here at home. Total 45.5. Forecast 82 for kickoff with a little wind. And boy, if you thought A.J. McCarron going back to St. Louis was interesting, wait until he has to shake hands with Anthony Beck this week. Get the popcorn ready for that one, TPG. We got some bad blood here. This is turning into some must-see TV, baby.
Yeah, and I think back to that clip that I've been seeing going around on Twitter. I forget whose interview or whose show AJ was on, but he specifically called out back in saying, I cannot wait to beat this team twice a year. Yeah, he called a shot early. Let's see if he could actually do it.
Yeah, where do you start with this one, right? I think you have to start with Matt Corral. Matt Corral is like the hot girl that you take to prom, and halfway through, you go out to the parking lot, you find her making out with your buddy in the backseat of his car, and then she cries, you forgive her, you take her home anyway. Right, that's Matt Corral. Like it's truly mind-boggling how, if you're a Stallions fan, how much of a love-hate relationship you probably have with this guy. Like, and it's not like you can go to your backup either, because he's not even allowed in the country yet. So you're stuck with Matty Ice, baby, for better or for worse.
I guess the next best option is just letting McCarron go in.
Yeah, honestly,
letting him run the show. Honestly,
God Almighty, like. What a roller coaster for Stallion fans the first 3 weeks. I tweeted that they were probably 2 plays away from 3-0, and then I said, what am I talking about? I remembered that can't be true because the Kings almost beat him in week 1. The Kings probably should have beat him in week 1. I mean, this has to be the most talented, inconsistent team I've ever seen. Like, back-to-back weeks they blow a lead. The defense just completely forgets how to play until they get inside the 10. Then all of a sudden they look like the 85 Bears out there. Like, we'll see. Can they finally get right against the Storm offense? Because I think the Storm offense has been improving every week, TVG.
Yeah, and you touched on Orlando's game last week against Louisville, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in that situation because you're playing the same team the second straight week. That's not a very easy thing to do. But everyone's argument against the Orlando Storm is that they beat two of the worst teams in the entire league. But do we know that the Stallions are a good football team? They might be bad. They had two 10-point second half leads in the Battle Dome last week, and they still managed to lose.
You're doing the same thing that you did with DC. You're going.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
like
antagonizing.
You're not giving your own team enough credit. No, that's not a bad team that you just beat. You have two good wins, and I'm telling you this as a DC fan. Like, give your guys a little more credit. They're two good wins against two good teams.
You're not listening to what I'm saying I'm opinion online about this team. Everyone has them low on the power rankings. No one has them up high like I do. I have them at 2. But I'm just not sold on the Stallions just yet. And I can already see the online outrage that's going to happen when the Stallions lose this game. Everyone's going to be saying they shouldn't have fired Skip Holtz. All these Stallions burners are going to be sounding off. People are going to be even more pissed at Rapoli than they were before.
One thing to keep an eye on, though. KJ Hamler did not practice. Both left and right hamstrings listed on the report. And we know he's kind of been made of glass his entire pro career. Orlando does not have much wide receiver depth outside of their top 3. Like, those guys run all the routes. So that could be an issue if even one of them are out. I don't expect Birmingham to be able to run the ball here. Snoop Connor, major letdown. Last 2 games, 17 carries for 27 yards. And McFarland has been a little better, but most of Birmingham's success has come through the air. And the good news for Stallion fans, the Orlando pass defense got exposed by Jason Bean last weekend. They couldn't cover anybody. They couldn't get to the passer. Only had 1 sack. And everybody wants to ride Matt Corral for all of his bad decisions, and that's fine. He's also only been sacked twice in 3 games. That's the best in the UFL. So they do have a good offensive line. This is a bad matchup for the Orlando Storm, who just lost one of their top corners, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's season-ending injury, TBG. Stop me if you've heard that before.
Oh, I've heard that many times. I've heard that many times when he's been on my fantasy team, which makes me want to just punch my webcam right now. But I think this is another matchup similar to this Houston-Louisville game tonight. I think this is another matchup that's going to come down to coaching. Birmingham, second most penalized team in the league. Orlando, second least penalized team in the league. Right? And you look at this spread, the wrong team is favored in my opinion. The Storm 3-0 straight up. Stallions 0-3 against the spread. The only team in this league to not cover a game this year. That's embarrassing.
You of all people though should know why they're favored.
Because they're at home.
Exactly.
Because
you're learning. You're learning. You're learning to follow your own prophecies here.
Yeah. I know. Some it gets kind of confusing because sometimes you got to go with it, sometimes you don't. But needless to say, I'm still gonna take the Orlando Storm in this game with the points and on the money line to spoil the Stallions' home opener. Yeah, and I would lean over. I would lean over in this game too. I don't think both teams have great pass defense.
Yeah, I don't think you're right. I don't think Orlando has anybody that can cover Kane, Ross, or Mickens. Those guys, though, they have to start stepping up and making plays. Like, yeah, Kane popped off last week, but I'm still waiting for Justin Ross, who was throwing beers at people coming out of the tunnel against Louisville. Like, come on, bro. Like, you're one of the more talented receivers in this league, and you had a crucial drop on that final drive. Like, you saw it in person. That he should have caught that pass, and that would have continued the drive there. Who knows what would have happened? That really cost the Stallions a shot. But I'm taking Birmingham here, TPG, for mind you. Birmingham here, TPG, for mind you. Their head coach grew up, mind you. Their head coach grew up and was royalty. Their head coach grew up and was royalty by age 18. Not to mention Tyler Siskey, offensive coordinator, grew up, born and raised in Alabama. Kevin Shearer.
Yeah, dude,
that's like Coach
AJ,
K showing up to a Duke game.
What do you think AJ's going to do when he's getting emasculated before the game even starts by Gucci Mane, Skip Holtz, Anthony Beck? I mean, the whole family is going to be out there. It's going to be a homecoming embarrassment.
I think it was
embarrassment.
It was a bad idea to bring Skip Holtz there.
The fans are going to leave at halftime. Yes, Rapoli's going to be there. There's going to be a lot of bad blood.
Listen, I said it last week when I did pick St. Louis to beat Birmingham. I said the boys will be back in town week 4. The Ponies are going to put on a show in Protective, even though TPG reminded me they are 0-3 against the spread. Give me the Ponies money line anyway for a 2-unit play. This team can't lose again. Come on, AJ. Help me out here, brother. Giddy up.
Who do they? If they can't win this week, who do they got next?
I don't know.
Week?
They might go 1-9.
I'm pulling it up. Oh my gosh, dude. You'll never. Good Lord. They play it's Defenders at Stallions next week.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean if they don't win this game, good Lord. Is the season over if they don't win this game?
I would think so. Yeah.
Cancel your season tickets. Get in Rapoli's mentions. Tell him how bad he ruined the league, only to have your team then move to Boise, Idaho.
Yeah, the Boise Stallions will be out.
It's gonna happen, and this is step 1 in the process. Will fans show up, Matt? I think they might for Gucci Mane.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's got that high school reunion vibe. I think you're gonna see some people that wouldn't normally come out that might be Crimson Tide fans want to see their boy AJ.
Mima and Grandpa coming out.
Right. Papa. Yep.
Coming out to the downtown stadium.
Yeah, a lot of cousins.
To watch some football.
All right, want to do best bets?
Yeah. You start? You want me to start?
No, we got to
go.
We'll keep it going. We'll keep it going.
I think I should
because
I
don't
want to go first.
No, we shouldn't change anything. That you shouldn't want me to change any. We should keep this because at least one of us is winning this way. Okay, I don't want to change it. We both lose.
It's like golf. I shot the best round last week. I should go first.
All right, best bet for me. Give me Louisville, Houston, over 45.5 tonight. I'm going to hop on St. Louis, DC, over 43.5. Love the overs this week as they were 4-0 last week. And like I mentioned, give me the Ponies money line on Saturday against the Storm. TPG, what you got?
On the 7th day, angels came down from the heavens and said, TPG, you are the next spring football gambling prophet. 5-1 on the season. Seeing the board clear as day, and going to give you another big winning week. So let's get into it. Houston, bounce back spot at home, coming off a big loss. We've seen this before. Don't overthink it. Louisville is not a good football team, and no team is as bad as you think they are. That's very contradicting. Oh my gosh. Anyways, Houston bounce back. Take them on the money line. I love it. And there's a storm brewing at Protective Stadium on Saturday afternoon. I love the Orlando Storm to keep this thing rolling. And the last one I got, Matt even said it in his preview, this is going to be a 3-point game, but Caw is law in the nation's capital. Give me the Battlehawks to cover the 3.5 versus the DC Defenders, and that line probably will go up a little bit too. I think DC is going to get a lot of public love.
Yeah, I've seen it bounce back and forth a little bit, but you're probably right that you could wait if you're going to go on the St. Louis side. And I'm disappointed because this is normally a smash spot for me when DC's playing the Battlehawks, but I don't like laying points here. I'm used to being the underdog in this matchup. I don't like being the favorite. I'd rather be in your shoes. So I don't hate the play. All right, time for everybody's favorite or least favorite segment, depending on how you look at it. It is time for Chat TPG.
Yeah, I'll admit, this segment sucks. This segment was such a better idea than what it's like come out to be. I get no love. My own team hates me. Everyone hates me. Everyone's probably going to hate me even more after this week. But Bueno Light asks, did TPG puke after last week's beer snake tutorial? Yeah, I threw up all over my keyboard. That's why the cat was all over me, trying to eat up the puke.
And then you
Wasn't
made
fed
me
in a couple days, and
you made me lie and say technical difficulties to everybody.
yeah,
I'm coming for you.
I threw up all over my laptop, but somehow it still works.
The puking gambler. That's who he is.
The puking. That's been a thing, right? In the past.
What a great question here to start off week 4. Is that all you got? Is that all you got this week?
Yeah, that's all I got. People have been, the fans of this show have been doing a piss poor job of giving me questions. But
Come on, Walt. We're looking at you.
Nobody wants to write in. Walt, we get your emails every week. Throw in a question at the end. Who else?
We need some contributions, or else we're gonna have to start making stuff up, because we did get a sponsor for this segment. I'm not gonna disclose who that is quite yet, because there's some contractual things going on, but we still have an obligation to fulfill this. So we gotta keep it rolling. We need your questions.
Please ask me something next week.
Great segment there.
Thank you.
All right. We want to thank Matt McCrane for joining us tonight. And to my Defenders faithful, we are 2 sleeps away from game day. So I need you to get on social media, get on X, get on Instagram, get on TikTok, if UFL TikTok even exists. We're trying to get it going. Start talking shit. Start talking shit to these St. Louis scumbags. These guys think a win week 1 gives them the right to even sniff our jock. Get ready to learn 1-800-GAMBLER, TPG, because your ass is calling them next Thursday night. You're going to be dialing before we even press record, right to lead the show. I'm making you do it. We're not even going to open the damn show. Bang, right into the phone call.
May the best team win. And we'll see you back on Sunday night for Spaces. Also,
hold on. We're going to go Saturday.
Whoa.
We're going to go Saturday.
Saturday.
There's
yes,
no Sunday
Saturday.
game this week.
Saturday. Also, now that I'm putting the fans on blast, I've also been underwhelmed by the amount of people that join the space and want to actually talk and contribute. We're giving the fans an open floor. This is great spring football community building exercise, and the people don't want to take advantage of it. So if you're at one of these games this weekend, I highly suggest that you hop in the live show, tell us about your experience, tell us about your thoughts, because that week 1 show, when we had fans from every single game hop on, I thought that was probably the best one we've done so far.
You know why we had a good turnout week 1?
Because Rapoli media blitzed.
Because DC lost.
That is true.
If you think, for as much as you think Battlehawk fans hate you, they hate me worse.
They do, actually.
So,
I know that for a fact. Everyone hates Matty Fresh.
When DC loses, we're guaranteed to have probably our best show.
Nice.
But we're not going to lose. Good. It's not going to happen this week. All right, for TPG, I'm Matty Fresh. You always remember there is no such thing as football season. I'll see you at Audi Field Saturday. Shields up.